Hi there, YouTubers. This is W0GEN Bill, and I am going to work on the Polaris Slingshot. I'm going to start a project of replacing the headers, put a new header on, and putting a Welter FSX side exhaust in. So I'm going to be installing a full-blown header, all nicely stainless steel, highly rated header. Put that on. And then we are going to use this exhaust adapter that goes on the header, and then that will feed into the muffler using a Twist Dynamics Welter Performance muffler. And that is right here out of the box. There is some cutting that is done. I'll have to cut, and this will come out of the side of the Slingshot, just downstream of the right front tire. Twist Dynamics does ship a hanger and gaskets for the connections. They send some red RTV high temperature gasket maker. I have to talk to Jeff to find out where to use that. And then I have a brake spring tool to remove the springs and to attach the springs. So that's all I have right now. I still have to receive a call from Jeff Welter as the box did not come with instructions, so that's why I was felt compelled to have a little bit of a video to explain some of this. For this project, I'm going to be removing this side fender and the top heat shield, and ultimately start removing all of the components. I'll go ahead and try to move the camera here a little bit to show a little close-up of the heat shield and the components. So that's the first step, is removing the heat shield, and I can go ahead and do that. Okay, first step is taking the heat shield, removing the heat shield. Using 10mm cap screws here. So there's the heat shield is now off. So next step will be start removing fender components and all that. You have to remove the screws. There's also a screw for the roll bar that holds against this, and then there's a push pin that needs to be pulled out right in this location here to release the unit. Go. So this upper panel looks like it kind of comes off too to help with the cause. There's a T25 screw you have to remove out right here. You have to take the speaker pod out from the inside and then remove the T30 Torx screws on the bottom floor. If you have a floor mat, you have to pull that to get those out. And so that was, I guess I could have pulled my service manual out and looked and see what where all the screw locations are, but that was the part that got me in trouble a little bit. So we're coming along good. The one bolt that's a little bit of a bugger to get out is this one right here, which you pull this panel to the side and kind of pull out on it, and it's a T30 screw, and then you can remove it from the inside. So this allows this whole side panel to be removed now and set aside. So now we have an open cockpit, and we'll move the camera. There we can see the muffler, and next step is to remove the muffler from the system. There is a band clamp right here that needs to be loosened to take the heat shield off, and then there is some band clamps at the bottom that need to be removed as well to take this whole heat shield off. The lower muffler spring does have to get removed as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take this band clamp loose now. Because these probably will not be used again. If I can, I will. And then I've got to go underneath, so I'm going to raise the lift up. So stand by. Before I raise up the lift, I'm going to remove this spring here in order to successfully remove this heat shield as well. Well, my intention is to remove these two band clamps, but it looks like the factory has placed them in the upright position, a little more difficult to get to. I can use a little boxed-in wrench or open-in wrench and unscrew them. But I think what I'm going to end up doing is just removing these two screws up. There's 10mm screws on the heat shield. So I'm going to go ahead and reach in from up above and get those pulled out. I put the whole wrench in the right direction here. There's one. And there's the other one. Okay, it looks like that shield will come out. I'm going to lower. I'd really like to get that out of the way. I think I'm going to go ahead and work at loosening that bracket. No, take that back. I'm going to leave it because maybe I can use it again once I put that welder muffler in. Okay. We'll take a standby on the video and drop the hoist back down. Okay, to remove this heat shield, after some manipulation, I think I have to take these two cap screws out as well. Again, they're 10mm. So far on this project, other than the torque screws, any cap screws is 10mm. Couple washers and a bracket here. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on here because I'd like to reuse this if possible, just to provide additional heat shielding. Here it comes. So there's the heat shield. Pretty nice. The 2018 Slingshot has it. At least the Grand Touring unit has it. So here I'll go ahead and go freelance here and let you see what I'm seeing here. So what we have is the stock muffler drops down, and got a couple springs to remove, and I'm not gonna. Then we'll be taking the manifold off as well. So that's our next step. Okay, I'm going to remove this spring here. Now it looks like I need to remove the spring from this exhaust pipe down below. This one here is going to be the hardest one to do. reach around the back side here, so mind my elbows. Okay, the springs are released. No, one more spring on the bottom. If I was lazy, which I generally am, I would just lift the car back up. But I'm going to try to see if I can get the spring off. They're pretty tough springs. Nope, time for a lift. I am got a spring hook tool through a hole here. I'm going to go ahead and pull this. I'll probably have this whole darn thing fall in my lap. My luck, but no, I'm not. Good. It looks like the muffler is completely released. I'm going to go ahead and remaneuver myself here a little bit. Looky there. There is the stock muffler. It is out. I'm going to save these springs because I think they are used. So I took the springs off the stock muffler. I'm just going to set the muffler off. So it looks like we got this little exhaust manifold to remove, and then we can take the oxygen sensor out, and then we could go about it going the next step, and that will be, so here's the oxygen sensor right here. So that so far so good. I may reroute my wiring here. I've got my LED ground effect lighting here. I might have to reroute that a little bit too by the time I get done with this project. Nice, I can see everything in here now. It's pretty nice. I can get to things. All right, we're going to remove the three cap screws, 15 millimeter socket wrench. I already broke them loose a little bit, but they were pretty easy to break loose actually. I'm going to put my hand down here to catch the exhaust pipe coming out. Looks good. Little gaskets in there from the factory. So the next thing I'll do is remove the oxygen sensor. And that's a 7/8 inch wrench. So I'm going to go ahead and release the connector here, the electrical connector. There we go. And I'm going to feed this down here so I don't twist the wire as we are going here. So, oh yeah, nice. So there's the O2 sensor. So next thing I'll be doing is removing the cap screws, the nuts on the manifold, and we do plan to reuse the gasket as I did not receive a gasket from Twist Dynamics, and they told me the stock gasket is much better than the OEM ones you get. The cap screws have been removed from the manifold. I'm going to remove the manifold now. Gasket looks like it's in pretty decent shape. We'll be reusing it for the header. Okay, I'm told to go ahead and remove this bolt here. This is the motor mount, and to go ahead, that's 15 millimeter, and to take that nut loose and then raise the engine up until this is flush to the casting. To the top of the stud is flush to the casting, and that will provide sufficient clearance to put the header in. So that'll be my next step. As you can see, I'm jacked up on the engine using a floor jack underneath, and I'm going to go ahead and attempt to put the full-blown header in its place. So mind the shake here. We'll get this tripod set up. Right about there. And let's see if it works. Right there, pull it out of the way. Look at that. Looks like it's going right in. Lower stud, there we go. Lower stud was kind of fighting. There we go. There it is. So we'll be able to put the cap screws on. Get everything torqued. I gotta go look up the torque spec. I see I got some wires to move here to clearance for heat. So looking good, Maynard. Yeah, I really like that that look of that header. How's it look on the camera here? Oh yeah. So pretty sweet. I'll pull the camera, get a little close up here. That is the full-blown header. And I'll be putting the oxygen sensor on, but the first step will be is to put all the cap screws back on and bring them to factory specification and torque. Spec is 124 inch-pounds on these manifold bolts, and I was able to get this one set, this lower one. It's the only one I can get a wrench on. With an extension or even a short socket. So what I did, I went ahead and put a wrench on it, and I have a feeling for what 124 inch-pounds feels like. So that's about all you can do. So I know what kind of torque it is. So now I'm going to have to hand tighten each of these bolts with an open-end wrench. Not the most ideal in the world, but it is what it is. And I got pretty much a good feeling for that by putting that wrench on there. And I'll just check it, after a few days. So I'm not going to bore you with the process of tightening all these nuts by hand. Got the header installed, everything's torqued, all 10 cap screws. I have the oxygen sensor in. I used a little bit of Permatex anti-seize on the threads, and I got that. I routed the wires away from the manifold. I pulled the cable for the hood latch assembly away from the headers. I pulled all my wiring back, and I raised this hose here, this coolant hose, up and out of the way. I may end up converting these to silicone before I'm done, but everything looks good so far. So the next step will be to install the exhaust manifold and the Welter muffler, or the Twist Dynamics muffler. We have got, the next step is to take this exhaust pipe and we're going to install it just like that. And to do that, I'm going to take and put this gasket that Twist Dynamics sent me and put that in. And then we're going to use these cap screws, to mount it but I'm going to go ahead and treat these cap screws with some Loctite. I guess I got to make a correction. I meant anti-seize. We're using anti-seize on the bolts here. So if I ever have to take this off again, I can easily do it. I'm going to get arms in here where I can get the things. One more to apply anti-seize to, one more bolt. I like the brush-on style anti-seize. You can see I just put it in just on the tip, and that way it doesn't get all over the place like I just got some on my finger here. But make sure the gasket's in there, which I did. So I'm going to hand tighten these. Now I gotta go get my torque spec and get them torqued. Go ahead and try to get these torqued. Clearance is not ideal, so I'm just gonna try to get them by feeling first. Have to use an open end wrench. And this back one. Yep, socket wrench. Box end won't even work. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and apply a torque. I can get a torque wrench on here, so I'm going to tighten it till it clicks so I have a feeling for how tight it needs to be. "37 foot-pounds is the specification. There it is. So now I'm going to take this wrench on here and just get a feeling for how tight that is. That's nice and tight. Okay. So these, I'm just going to have to do it by hand to get them to be as tight as I can get them. Clearance is not ideal. I wonder if a crow's foot socket would work on there. Let me see if that fits on there. By God, that might work. Let me try that with the torque wrench. Trouble is, it tightens it too much. Yeah, the crow's foot wrench ends up getting in the way. So, we're just going to have to hand do this with an open end wrench. Okay, after quite a bit of work there, that was fun. It's to get those 3 bolts in, and we got them in. They're pretty much 37 foot-pounds. So now we've got to hook up the muffler and hook the springs up. Looks like there's 4 ears on this, and we have the donut to put on. Now, according to Jeff Welter, we put high heat, high temperature gasket maker on that when we put that donut on. So that's the next step. I'm going to try a little thing. I put this heat shield back in, and I cut a notch in it right here. Guess I gotta move the camera a little bit to show that. But I ended up cutting a notch in the heat shield to be able to fit this Welter exhaust pipe in. So we'll see what happens here. So alright, so here's the new muffler. I'm going to try to slide it in. Shove it in here. Looks like it'll fit. So I think the key is get the donut in, and I can always bend this heat shield around a little bit. But I think we got ourselves a plan here, and I'll figure out the mount up above for the heat shield after I get the muffler installed. I'm going to go ahead and put a bead of high temperature gasket maker around here if I can get it done. Make sure it looks good. I think I gotta add a little bit more down here. There we go. Alright, now we'll put the donut gasket on, smash it on there good, and it's on there. Now, I'm going to go ahead, just because I can, I'm going to go ahead and put some on the outside here. I don't think it's necessary, but why not? I heard this is the weakest part of the system, is you get a little exhaust leak here. So we're going to try to dummy proof this as much as possible. Here we go. Now we're going to take this here, exhaust, bring it in, see if we can keep them getting gunked up here. We're going to try to get a spring hooked up here, on the, up above on the top side. That'll be the fun part. Okay, reach down here. Grab this spring. Nope, slipped out. Okay. I had ended up moving the hole down a little bit because I would have been well into the 2018 Fender here, so I moved it down about 1/4 of an inch. You can kind of see from the inside, or here was the original hole, and I ended up moving down, I guess it's closer to 1/2 inch down, and just to clear this part right here. So yes, I'm bleeding. This has been quite a project to get this all put together. So anyway, we got it cut out. So here is the part where mine is, and I used a 4 1/8 inch diameter drill instead of a 4 1/4 because I had it on hand, and I figured I can always ream out this hole more if I need to. So next step is to see if it fits. Oh, I got to drill a little hole above here yet for the hanger, so that's the next step. The instructions are to drill a hole 1 3/16 inch above the muffler, but obviously I will be into this Fender that's on the 2018, and I don't want it inside of here, the cap screw. So I think I'm gonna do something a little different here, maybe dry fabricate it and see what I have. We have got the muffler and the exhaust and everything's all hooked up. Silicone's in place, heat shield's in place. I just got it temporarily blocked. I'm too anxious to let it sit without at least starting it up and hearing this baby. So we're gonna go ahead and start the engine. Make sure I'm in neutral, and I am. Yep, I gotta set the phone down a second. I gotta press on the brake. Press in the clutch, I guess. Has a little different sound, a lot better sound. So, nice rumble. All right, I don't want to leave it run too long, so I want that silicone to fully set up. So, ready to put the old side panel back on the Slingshot. I got the muffler temporarily supported. I'm still hoping the heat shield will work out. I've kind of bent the heat shield back here. I put the bracket, the hanger on the muffler, and I got the hole drilled on the side panel. So I'm ready to put that into place. I'll show you how the side panel looks. Drilled 1 1/8 hole. Look at the other side. There it is, just snugged right up to the edge here. And then I have a hole right in here, right there, and that's where the hanger will be. So if everything works out, life will be good. So next step is to go ahead and try to slip this thing on. Ready to put the hanger, put the muffler on. I'm gonna go ahead and take this block out. Hopefully things don't drop too far. A little bit, not bad. So I'm gonna take the old side panel, bring it in, put it in the hole. Drop this down in. See how my holes line up. Too bad. Oh, the muffler fell out. Come around the other side here. It didn't. Okay. So this will be interesting. It's kind of sitting in there. The muffler is kind of facing down. I may have to end up adjusting or cutting some of my flare here to allow for the exhaust to go out, or put a little elbow on it. I may have to talk to Jeff on that one, but I'm going to go ahead and go through the process of attaching this and see where we're at. Well, I'm pretty happy. Everything is done, other than I got to put tools away. Probably the toughest part of the whole project was getting the springs put on the muffler that I needed a second person to help pull the muffler towards me. I was able to repurpose and use the heat shield that comes with a 2018, so I expect things to be nice and cool. I love the looks of the full-blown header, and I guess we'll be driving it pretty soon here to test it all out. But the exhaust comes out. We're still on the lift here, but kind of a little dark here. Anyway, the muffler comes out right underneath the side. The 2018's got a little different fender here, so it was pretty tight. I did have to add a screw. That's the muffler clamp screw, and I'll do some still images as well. Probably another hard part was getting the stupid speaker screws back in. Had to remove the speaker in order to get to the screws on the floorboard and on the inner fender to take it out. But now the next thing I have to do is change my lower unit oil and tighten my belt and work at getting my belt adjustment done. I tend to favor to the outside, and I don't like the belt noise I get. So with that, it was a good day in the shop. I'm ready to call it quits. Have a good evening.